Hello, I'm Laura Knights, CEO of Knights Consulting, creator of BlackWomanLeading.com, and the host of Black Woman Leading, the podcast. This podcast amplifies the needs and experiences of Black women leaders in the workplace with a holistic focus on three core areas: leadership development, mental wellness, and relationship management. Our ultimate aim is to help Black women learn, heal, and grow in their leadership capacity. Hey there, before we jump into the next podcast episode, I want to share two quick announcements with you. We are just weeks away from the 2025 Black Woman Leading Live Conference and Retreat. It's taking place May 27th through the 30th, 2025 in Virginia Beach. Now, this is our third annual event, and if you haven't heard, this event is the premier leadership development conference to help Black women learn, heal, and grow in their leadership capacity. Now, this is not just an event, it's an experience designed by Black women for Black women. Listen, the Black Woman Leading team, along with our dynamic guest experts that will be there, are going to help you do the hard work and the head work to clarify your career growth strategy, work on refining your leadership skills, and make a plan to tend to your mental wellness and self-care while you are doing all of that. So activities include workshops, panels, wellness breaks, laser coaching, networking, action planning, all of that. Past attendees have shared that this event has been transformative for them and has helped them make critical shifts to take not only their career, but their life to the next level. You need to be in the room, okay? So we have less than 25 seats left until we sell out. So make a plan to get there, talk to your employer, do whatever you got to do and be there with us, okay? You can get all the details and sign up, save your seat at www.bwlretreat.com. And my second announcement for you. Now our full podcast episodes are on YouTube. So you want to see my beautiful face, you want to see the face of our brilliant guests and catch the vibe as we're really having these dynamic conversations. Subscribe to the Black Woman Leading YouTube channel and you can watch the full episodes of the season there. So head on over there and subscribe. Okay, so welcome everyone. Today we are talking about driving the narrative of your career, which is our season theme, by the way. And I have some very special guests today, some of our very own Black Woman Leading Program alums. Hey, y'all. So excited y'all are here. Hey. So I'm excited to jump into this topic, and I'll tell a little bit why for the season theme topic I wanted to have some Black Women Leading alums with us here. But first, we'll just do a round and have everyone introduce themselves. Let's go with Alexys, and then Shelby.
Hey y'all, hey, I'm your girl SherAaron. I am in Detroit, Michigan, and professionally I am the director of workshops and training with the Carpentries, and I was a part of the Innovate cohort.
Whoop, whoop.
Hey everybody, my name is Alexys Anderson, she, her pronouns, and I am located in New Jersey. I was a part of the Early Career Bloom cohort 2024, and I currently am in the higher education space, working as an assistant director of the Title III Strengthening Institutions Grant.
Cool.
Hey everyone, my name is Shelby Norman. I also use she, her pronouns. I'm located in beautiful New Orleans, Louisiana, and I was also a part of the 2024 Bloom cohort with the Early Career Program. And I also work in higher education as an associate director, so we're pretty parallel there. And I work in professional development and outreach, mainly with faculty and staff.
Lovely, lovely. So why did I want to talk about the season's theme with some of our alums? So most of the season's themes is inspired by our alums, of course. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that the podcast is an extension of our leadership development programs. And we have an early career and a mid-career program for mid and senior level leaders. And so this theme of driving the narrative of your career, and if you've been tapped into the podcast this season, you've heard me talk about what we mean by that. We're talking about kind of setting, creating, pursuing a vision for yourself, going after that, advocating for yourself, and also tapping into resources to support you. So throughout our programs, not only are our alums, learning about how to do this, they're doing it, right? Through coaching, through strategy with each other, through peer learning, they're actually doing it. So they were the inspiration for this season's theme. So who better to bring but experts doing the thing. So I want to dive into this topic and hear about their real experience. We got to see a lot of their journey with them being part of the program, but I think it's just so much richness we get to see and experience with our participants in the community that we want to bring that out, because that's learning that we could share, wisdom that we could share with others through the podcast. So we're going to jump into the questions and dive into this topic. Okay, y'all ready?
Sounds like
yes, ma'am.
All right, y'all. So before we start talking about driving the narrative, we always ask all of our guests, what does the phrase Black woman leading mean to you? And can you just share a little bit about your journey as a Black woman leading? And by that, I'm going to ask you later about your experience in the program. When I talk about your journey, just what has been a little bit of your trajectory that's gotten you to the place that you're here now? So what does the phrase Black woman leading mean to you? And a little bit about what that journey has looked like for you. Let's start with Shelby and then go to Alexys, and we'll go around like that. Okay.
awesome. Well, thanks again for having me to be a part of this, to have me on. I'm just really excited to be here and to talk a little bit about my experiences being a young professional, a Black woman professional. And really, to me, Black women leading, it really is not just simply, as Shirley Chisholm says, to bring a folding chair, right? But it's also to build and bring our own tables, our own boardrooms, our own conference rooms, our own spaces, and really being unapologetic in that fullness of ourselves as Black women and as Black women professionals. And so as an early career professional myself, I really find that I am navigating my own personal identities and the identities that others are sort of placing onto me. So I'm trying to kind of balance both of those things. And so because of that, I'm really finding myself sort of growing and standing firm in myself and in my power, especially when I'm thinking about not feeling intimidated in spaces. I know very much that I belong in whatever room that I walk into. And if I wasn't wholeheartedly capable, I wouldn't be there. So really Black women leading as a program, but also as an ethos really has sort of structured that for me and consistently reminds me of it.
Oh, that's good. I want to come back to that identity point because I think you really hit something with that. But wait, let's keep flowing, y'all, because y'all know we'll go down a rabbit hole, y'all. And okay, focus. Okay. All right, we're gonna come back. We're gonna come back to that identity because I think that's powerful and that's something I want to lean into. But Alexys, what does the phrase Black woman leading mean to you? And can you just share a little bit about your journey so far?
Yes. So the phrase Black woman leading to me, it really encompasses a lot, but I think the overall theme is not being afraid to embody my unique leadership profile. And my profile is really leveraging it's my background as a Black woman, it's my experience as a Black woman. Like I can't separate that from my leadership experience. So really leaning into that, especially as a professional who recently came into a leadership role where I'm like supervising and things like that. In a space where everyone doesn't look like me, just remembering to really own my identity. And within the program, kind of the reason why I was interested in participating was, again, easing that transition for me, being able to really connect and cultivate community with other Black women who are also in an early leadership space. That was important to me, to be able to just really bounce ideas off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 And Cher, let's hear from you. And you coming from that mid-career perspective, some years in the game
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
What does the phrase Black woman leader mean to you, and how? Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Okay, I'm gonna kind of go backwards in answering that question. So my journey has always been, I praise the Lord, grew up in a household of nothing but single strong women. My grandmother, my mother, and my godmother. And they all always had roles that put them in the forefront, whether it was at work or whether it was at church. And even my aunt growing up, seeing her in a sorority, like, again, that was stuff that put them out in the front. So I always saw these women, I was like, oh, I want to do that. And so for me, Black women leading has been really watching them and seeing how, growing up, I saw some of the hardships that they had, whereas not knowing at the time, like hearing them talking about, yeah, it's hard for me to get ahead, or hearing about this glass window, like not knowing what a glass window was. But truly, really, when we think about Black woman leading, one, when you hear the term Black, you think the lowest of the low, you think you can't be seen, and then leading. And what does that leading mean? Leading from, sometimes it means leading from behind. Sometimes it means leading on the sideline. Sometimes it is leading in front. And then, just being a woman, that's a whole nother perspective of, sometimes people think that we're supposed to be behind. We're supposed to be seen and, only be seen and not heard. So for me, encompassing each of those words, I've truly embraced it. And what Shelby said, I really can't wait to dive into it, because it wasn't until I did a performance review, and we do quarterly performance reviews at my organization. And I said, this is the first time, and I'm in the mid-career. I've been director for about 3 years. This is the first time in all of my season that I truly am confident. I know what I'm doing. Like, you can't tell me that I don't belong. And like, that imposter syndrome has truly gone out the window, because I'm in an area where I'm with data scientists, and my background is business management and marketing and hotels. So when I first got into this organization, I was like, I really don't feel like I belong. When I go into these rooms, I actually bring a uniqueness that sometimes it's the most smallest thing I say, I think that it's really, really minimal, and they think it's prolific. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about this identity piece, because you all have mentioned an aspect of this in just your kind of initial responses. And when I think about the work that we've done in both programs, there's this piece about really acknowledging our intersectionality, right? Not only as being Black people, being women, and then you can add all your other additional identities to that, right? Which we may have additional things, right? And so there is this piece of, I feel like in some areas there is don't show all of the identities, but we really embrace that those multiple identities is what really makes the sum of the powerful you. So we encourage you to embrace that and to bring that into your leadership, knowing that it's not always safe. So you might need to navigate that accordingly. So there's the intersectionality piece. There's like what Cher is talking about, like just different intelligences we bring, different experiences we bring to the environment. And then there's kind of like our own self-concept or our heart work, which we've talked about in Black Woman Leading, like, because you could come with all those things and be like, yeah, I'm different, but you can also come with all those things and be like, ooh, I'm different, right? And so that's a journey to be able to embrace that. So I want to just hear from you all around, as you are in this season of your leadership, how has the identity experience been for you? And I'll leave that broad to your interpretation, but have you embraced it? Have there been challenges with that, and how have you navigated it, whether positive or negative? Let's do Alexys, Shelby, and then we'll go back to share.
Sure. So I definitely think with my transition into my new role, I've definitely been navigating how my identity fits in and how, leaning into my leadership. I think some of it is just lack of experience, like going through things the first time, supervising for the first time, being in different rooms for the first time. So navigating that piece. What's been helpful to me has been my mentor through the BWL program, Christina, in the mid-career program. She's been in the same space as I've been in. So kind of, she's been a new supervisor before. So letting her know my concerns of like delegation or like having tough conversations and having, her advice and feedback as someone who's been in my shoes has been very impactful. Um, as well as having, a Black woman that looks like me has that same experience.
Yeah.
She's definitely made me more confident in using my voice and leaning into my leadership. So I think it's a bit of that and just affirmation. Imposter syndrome is a big thing, especially in spaces where you're new and where you may not be around other Black women. So just knowing that I'm capable, I got this job because I'm qualified, and knowing, I can use my power.
Yeah. And, I love that thank you for the shout out for the mentoring program. Woo woo. Hey, Christina, mentor. If you all are not familiar, our participants that complete the early career program, they have the option to participate in our own internal mentoring program where we match them with a senior level alum and they help them to kind of navigate after they go through the core training program. So I love to hear that you're really leaning into that, because
Yes.
what you're talking about is mirrors, right? We need to have those mirrors to help us to process, to let us know you're not crazy, to validate. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you're like, is it me? And sometimes it might be you. Sometimes it might be you. Let's keep it real. But those mirrors are so important, especially when many of our participants are the only, right, in the spaces where they're navigating. So I love to hear that. Shelby, how has the identity journey been for you in kind of your career trajectory so far?
Yeah, that's such an interesting question because in my case, I've been with my institution for a few years now. And so when I first started, I was really early on understanding and navigating what it meant to be in higher education in my case. And so I have very clear memories of feeling intimidation. I have very clear memories of feeling as if I, was not a subject matter expert, that I didn't know if folks would think what I had to say was important or relevant or knowledgeable. And these last few years, and I was also able to experience a promotion, during my time in, Black women leading. And so I attribute a lot of the tools and the skills that I learned in the program to help position me to be in that space. And interacting and working with my colleagues that I have known for these last few years, and them mirroring back to me, you have grown so much. I've seen that come out of you. And that has been very gratifying in relationship to my journey of understanding what my positionality is, not just professionally, but also how I can show up as my full self and embrace all aspects of my identity. Of course, recognizing that navigation means different things in different times and places, but I feel very affirmed. I felt very affirmed kind of experiencing that growth and being able to think, oh, wait a minute, I know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to say the thing because I know what I'm talking about, and not shying away from that. So I think that my kind of journey through self-discovery of professional identity has gone through a myriad of tears, but certainly I think I've learned a lot, and I'm really excited for the things that are in front of me to learn. But yeah, I think that that's kind of where I'm situated in relationship to my identity and navigating through my various identities in the workspace.
I love that. I love that. And kudos on that promotion. Go,
Yes.
girl.
Thank
Yes.
you.
We love to hear it. We love to hear it. All right, Cher, what you got? What has the identity journey been like for you?
Listen, I'll tell y'all, it's been a trek, and I'll just say with the organization I'm with now, I've been here for 8 years, and I started as a part-time data entry person, workshop
Mhm.
administrator, and worked my way up to become the director of this program. And it's been, thank you, darling. And it's been difficult. Like I said, starting off, I did not think that I belonged in this
Yeah.
field, because I was in a room with oceanographers and mechanical engineers and
Yeah.
biomeds. And I'm like, I don't know that language at all. And in this process, as a director, I supervise internationally. I have someone on my team who's from South Africa that I met, that I have to oversee. And she has, different cultural experiences that I have to now be aware of. So that's really stretching me. Another thing is within our organization, we recently went through layoffs. And so I inherited an entire department that was used to the way it was run through other people. And so now I'll tell y'all, it wasn't again until this year. Last year was rough because they was looking at me like, who are you? You not so and so. And a lot of our
Mm-hmm.
volunteers fell off, and that hurt us drastically. And so it really was this journey of me coming into leadership. I used to tell I call her my Frost because she's my best friend and my boss. But I told her, I said, initially I was like, I want to do strategic work because I was like, I knew how to do the day to day, all that stuff. And I'm like, I want that thinking work. And boy, oh boy, when I got it. But it really is amazing to see the ideas. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you this, I used to say all the time that I'm gonna make a strong number two. I don't want to be a number one because I'm not a visionary. Like, you give me your vision and I'll make it happen. But being a director of a program, I'm a visionary and I have to
Yeah.
really look and see what my program is doing. But I will tell y'all this. Um, being spiritually grounded every day before I go into a meeting, before I step foot into my home office, I commit my day to the Lord, and I ask him to allow me to delight myself in him, so that whatever I do, it is ultimately bringing him glory, but I'm moving in the footsteps that he wanted me to. And that has been a journey that I recently again established this past year. Thank you, Black Women Leading, helping us with, figuring out what works for us. But
Yeah.
honestly,
Mm-hmm.
once I did that, that truly, I started looking at how was Jesus a leader? And for me, following in what he did and seeing what he did helped me in my trajectory. It's not easy because there are days in where I still feel as though I don't belong. But I'll say, I know that I'm here for a reason. And obviously I have a voice. So as Shelby mentioned, like sometimes there's been so many times where someone will say something and I was thinking and I was like, I thought that
Yes.
shouldn't have said it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then somebody else said, I'm like, man, I was thinking that. See, I should have just opened my mouth and said it. And so I really encourage you both as you're progressing, do not sit on it. If something is like, if it's right there on the tip of your tongue, you feel like you gotta get it out.
Get it out. Get it out. Well, you know what?
Yes.
I love what you said, Cher, about the expansion of identity too, because we can assume a role. I heard you saying like, I'm the number two. I'm the maybe the implementer. I'm not the visionary. And then you get put into this role where you have to create vision. And you
Hmm.
realize you weren't a visionary because you didn't have the opportunity to do it. But now that you
That's
have
it.
the opportunity to do it, you are a visionary. So I think it's part of too, just as we want others to expand their view of us continually being able
Yes.
to expand our view of ourselves and our
Mm-hmm.
capabilities and, trying the thing out. Now, I remember in one of our Black Woman Leading cohorts. This was a long time ago, but I had a check-in call with the person the other day, and she said, "Remember when I had that light bulb moment in the group because I was not really enjoying my work, and it's because I didn't want to manage people, and I realized I didn't need to be a people manager. I needed to be this other type of leader." And so she pursued
Yeah.
opportunities where she was not the people manager, and she's like, they tried to give me some people again and it wasn't working. So sometimes you know the role that's not yours, right? You know
Yes.
that, But other times, things that we have kind of set because maybe the skill set or the capacity hasn't been there, and we could surprise
Mm.
ourselves with
Mm.
what we could do, right? And so I love the keeping the space for the identity still to grow, but also knowing the boundaries of the things is like, no, that's not me, right?
Yes.
It's this,
Yes.
it's a
Yeah.
balance to it. It's a balance to it. So
Mhm.
if we're thinking about our season's theme of driving the narrative of your career, I love to have a little bit of inspiration here. So, what is a either current or maybe you just realized it, a professional vision that you have set for yourself, whether that's a goal you want to accomplish,
Ooh.
something you want to do, and you see either you've accomplished that thing or you see yourself like, I'm coming up on the finish line of it. What is that vision you set for yourself? And what were some of the things that are supporting you or have supported you to realize it? Let's hear from Alexys first, then I'm going to share, and then Shelby.
Okay, perfect. So this is actually a super timely topic because my current role that I'm in is grant funded. Our grant ends in September, so I'm definitely in the what's next phase, gearing up for the job search phase.
Yeah.
So I've been allowing myself to really think big, like not limit myself. I think before I would just limit myself, like, can I do this job? But I'm allowing myself to dream big and like what the future holds for me is endless. You know, I have a lot of paths I can pursue. So, really, how I envision my future right now is definitely being able to, within the field of higher education, have large scale impact. So, it's kind of being able to set the vision. To me, it can give consultant, it can give researcher, it can give a lot of different things, but being able to work with institutions to impact large scale change to positively affect their students, specifically students from underrepresented populations, because that's, you know, an area that's close to my heart. So I've been thinking big about that and thinking about what next steps look like to me. But I think something that this program helps me realize was power and influence doesn't always have to be related to a title. You can have
Yep.
that in any role that you're
Yes.
in. So I've been keeping that in mind as I look for what's my next step and also thinking about other skills and experiences I can build to get to, you know, that researcher, that consultant. So
Yeah.
setting up the long-term plan has been in my mind right now.
I love it because remember we talk about informal power. That's the power through
Mm-hmm.
relationships. Some
Right.
people might call it favor, right? that through those relationships that you get opportunities too. So okay, Alexys, we're dreaming big about this
Yeah.
next level.
Yes.
What are some of the things that's supporting you to go after that as you think about the new job search, the next stage?
Yes, so definitely having community has been big. Friends and family just being able to support me through the job search process, because that's a whole thing in itself. Again, back to my mentor, Christina, she's been giving me tips, something that I utilized from her. Was really reaching out to my network. I'm kind of creating a little one pager on
Yep.
my job updates, and that, you know, I'm looking for this new positions, what I'm interested in. I'm just asking them for their support. So that was a really good step for me because I've been trying to build my network and keep those connections. It's even resulted in some people sending me things I might be interested in. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely leveraging my community. Um, and just, you know, being gentle with myself and just focusing on things I can control, and
Yeah.
stay positive.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. I love it. Send me the one pager too, because you know I have a lot of
Yes,
stuff come past my desk. Let me see if I can be
yes,
a
yes.
little connector or something. Okay, I love it. Shelby, let's go to you on that and thinking about this question.
Yeah, so like I said before, I work in higher ed, and I'm still in a place of deciding if that's where I will stay or if that's not where I will stay. But I've really always been passionate about like people centric strategic learning initiatives.
Okay.
So when I say that, I guess I'm sort of thinking about it like recognizing the importance of diverse living, learning, and working environments, and
Mm.
what those experiences, or how those experiences are connected to people's everyday lives. And so I'm
Yes.
really thinking about how the intentionality of those environments and their impact on people, how that is connected through two things: history and data. And so,
Yeah.
so I'm thinking
Yes,
like,
girl.
okay, how do
It's giving dissertation, Shelby.
Yes.
Okay, but come
Listen,
on.
I was like, is she a PhD student?
Because it's definitely giving dissertation. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
it's
Keep going.
it's
Keep
so
going.
funny that you say that, because we might loop back to that. I don't know. We'll
Okay,
see.
okay. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
But I some people call it DEI, some people call it other things. But I, at the end of the day, really see myself, and I'd love to do this at an executive level,
Yeah.
really helping advancing equity through organizations and institutions. So that's kind of my trajectory, my 30,000-foot view is, how do I help people see the value not only in themselves and their multiplicity of self, but also in their colleagues and the people that are in their spheres of influence and in their communities, and how that strengthens people,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to sort of like organizational development. So that's kind
Hmm.
of
Yes.
like
Yes.
what I'm thinking about as far as, my career narrative,
Okay.
and how I want people to view me and the work that I do is sort of advancing through that lens. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now.
That's
Okay.
it. That's it.
It's good. And it sounds like you're in an exploratory space of like, what could this look
Hmm.
like, right? What could this be? What
Yeah.
would you say now is supporting you, even if that's still a little ways off and you're still kind of getting the form of it? What is kind of supporting you to move towards that direction now, Shelby?
Yeah, I feel like I've really learned a lot. And so engaging in my current work, learning experiences, or the ways in which I've moved through my profession, through my career currently, I feel have really set me up to start to think about the structure of that in the long term. And so that's, sometimes it's project based, but sometimes that's community based. And
Yeah.
being in connection with my colleagues, with my peers, my family, my friends, they all sort of in different ways feed into me, or fill my cup, so to speak,
Yeah.
to remind me that I have the abilities and the capacity to sort of reach those goals. And so I feel
Yes.
like I'm positioned in a really great spot right now to continue to gain this like appropriate knowledge to ultimately actualize what I see for myself in terms of my
Yeah.
career.
Yeah, I love that, and I love that your outlook is positive, right? It's not like
Yes.
how is
Yes.
it, when is it going to happen? It's just like, how is it going to happen is what I'm thinking
Yeah,
about now.
Hmm.
But it's going to happen, right? It's going to happen.
that's
I
how I
love that.
feel.
I love it. I love it. All right, Cher, what you got for me?
Listen, before I go into me, I wrote on my paper DEI, and I needed to say this because I just did a keynote last week, and I talked about DEI, but not in DEI in the way we think about it, but it's do
Yeah.
everything intentionally. And
Uh,
when you talked
Yes.
about what you were doing, I'm like, oh, that's DEI. She's doing everything intentionally.
yeah,
I love it. I absolutely love it. Shout out to BWL and getting me together with helping me to answer this question. So anyone that knows me, or once you get to know me, you'll learn that I have three things that I am truly passionate about. That's faith, that's flying, and that's fitness. Okay.
yep,
Now you heard me say that I do work for a nonprofit. I love my job. It pays the bill and it's great, but it's not what I'm passionate about. And in the program, I was able to truly work with Summer, and I'm drawing a blank. What was the document that we created?
leader. You did the leadership development plan.
Yes, I did an
Yes.
MVP. And so the leadership development plan, y'all. And at the time, I was like, I don't know how this is. Like, I was doing stuff, but back in March, I was doing my meditation, and God gave me a God idea. And I'm so excited. I can't quite explain all of it just yet, but when I say it is so, I get goosebumps thinking about it, because it's like I really didn't know how God was going to allow me to put all these things together. And I was thinking really small. And when he gave me the idea, he was like, "Oh, why are you thinking small? Like, why are you just thinking this way? You need to think like big." And so now I'm actually in the process of doing the business plan, getting all of the logos and everything, patenting everything.
Wow.
Um, and I wish I could say more, but I'm so excited. Don't worry, y'all will, like, when y'all see it, y'all gonna be like, "Oh, I heard about this."
Yeah.
Very stay tuned.
But
Congratulations.
Yes.
it has been, and what's so amazing is because I know that I am um, following in the lead that God showed me to do. It's like everything is falling into place. Stuff that I'm not even looking for, or resources that'll happen. Like I'll be in a conversation and someone will say, "Oh, I do this," and I won't even tell them what I'm doing. They're like, "Oh, and I want to help with this, and they're a pilot over here, or they're fitness here, and they're faith based here," and it's just really amazing to see how all of this is coming together, and it
Wow.
truly stemmed, and I kid you not, from Black Women Leading, because it was in that program that I truly began to just put down everything on paper. Like I still have it, like all of the things that I could possibly ever want to do. And again, looking at that, this is not a preaching thing, but he says he'll do exceedingly abundantly above all
Yeah.
that you could ask, think, or imagine. And I wrote down this stuff, and now it's even bigger than that. So I'm really
Yeah.
excited that I'm able to put together something with faith, flying, and fitness.
Yeah, I
Amazing.
love
Yeah.
it. I love it, Chair. Two things that's really sticking out to me about you. I remember when you were in the program and the intentionality of just giving yourself the space to explore. And I think that is really revolutionary, because a lot of times, especially people that come to our mid-career program, they may have been working for 15, sometimes 20 years already. And I can't tell you all the number of times I hear people say, this is the first time in my career, my 20 years of work experience, that I am pausing and saying, but what do you want to do now? Because it was this opportunity came and somebody recommended me for this, and I did it. And it was this kind of almost falling into the next thing, right? Still building skills, still doing great things, but it wasn't something that they pointed to and went to. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember you share really like being like, you know what? Let me just dream a little bit and see what it's talking about. So to
Yes.
see you putting that into place is really exciting, and I can't wait to get invited to the grand
You
opening or whatever it is.
you gonna be part of the piloting. You're gonna be part of
Listen, yes. And then if anybody is gonna be at our retreat, you're gonna learn about that fitness with Cher, because she's gonna be in the front row weighing folks out in the morning wellness workouts, and you're gonna be trying to keep up with her and looking for an inhaler. Okay.
Oh
So
my
I'm ready.
gosh.
I'm ready.
so no, it's all good. So I love this. So driving the narrative, to drive towards something, you have to be pointed in a direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why we really, really, really stress and think it's revolutionary for Black women to, yes, we're going to do, but just to have space to dream and to elevate that as worthy time, not frivolous time, not to explore, to jot it out, to mind map it, that is a critical part of the process. So when
Mm-hmm.
you're dreaming, and I heard a lot of you all say, Alexys said the 30,000, foot view. Sharon's talking about is bigger than what I even thought about. So when we have these things that are big, 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 sometimes a little monster called fear or doubt may creep in. I'm not projecting. Okay. I'm just telling my business, right? Um, so as you all are dreaming big, and not just dreaming, going after it, right? When that little fear monster or the imposter syndrome monster, whatever you want to call it, creeps up, how are you navigating that part? Because I personally believe that if my big dreams aren't scary a little bit, that they're not big enough. That's kind of my
Yeah.
personal kind of mantra, right?
Okay. Okay.
if it doesn't create a little bit of resistance or a how, for me personally, that's an indicator that I'm not dreaming big enough. I'm not going big enough. So I'll leave this to who may want to answer it, but as that fear, if you've experienced that, if you experienced the doubt, how are you managing that? How are you navigating that? Anybody want to touch that one? Shelby, you got something on that?
I think I would like to hop in here,
Okay.
which it's so timely, and that's why I said we might come back to this because, I'll answer this way first. One is I lean into, in terms of how I'm dealing with it, I lean into what I should be receiving, and I lean into how people are engaging with me and the thing that I'm having doubt or fear about that maybe we haven't even communicated with each other, but I am showing something to them that they are able to grab on to immediately. So I'll say it this way. The last almost decade or so, I've been really kind of dancing back and forth and toying with the idea of getting my doctorate.
Okay.
And that is my so
Yep.
that's why I was
Yep.
like,
Yep.
well, this is really timely because I haven't even said it, but that's kind of what's being mirrored back to me. And
Yeah.
I find that whenever I am feeling, kind of anxieties around, am I, engaging in a certain way, or how am I being perceived? I want folks to, latch on to something that I think is important. I'm finding lately that whenever I am in community or whenever I am in conversation with folks about, it could be anything, right? And there's the voice in my head that's telling me, oh, you should be thinking this thing, but maybe now isn't the time to say it, or now isn't the time to actualize or act on it. And someone else just says, oh, so it's this, right? That's what you're thinking. That's what you're planning to do. That's how I receive you. And if I'm like, oh, I didn't even say that out loud, and that's what they're picking
Yeah,
up,
that's
then
it.
I need to pay attention to that. And
Yeah.
so that's sort of how I deal with those feelings of doubt, self-doubt, or fear. Who is mirroring something back to me that I am almost afraid to say out loud? And I also want to shout out my mentor with our mentorship program, Shanika. She's been amazing and really helping, kind of being that thought partner in that mirror for me. I'm finding that happening more and more, and it's very serendipitous in some ways, but in other ways it's like, okay, now is the time to open the ears, open the eyes, and receive what's actually happening in this moment. And so I'm finding that it's a skill I'm still building, but
Yeah.
I'm nervous, but I'm excited to kind of lean into
Yeah.
it and see where
Yeah.
that takes me.
Yeah. I love what I'm hearing from you is that, just the power of community, because we can
Yes.
be in proximity but not be in community with people, right?
Yeah.
We can be in proximity but not be connected with people, right? And that's how we have so many people that come to Black Women Leading. They work in big organizations, but they use words like isolated to describe their professional experience, right? And so there's something about being in community and being connected. So
That's
those
it.
mirrors that brings the confirmation, which is what you're talking about, Shelby, that because I am a mirror of you and you are a mirror of me and we're doing our work, that sometimes you might reflect something back to me that I haven't seen yet or that I haven't said yet, even if I've seen it. And that's really that power of community and connection is really one of the spaces we try to occupy in our programs at Black Women Leading. I love it. Anybody else want to jump into that fear thing? How you managing the fear, the doubt? What's coming up for
Yeah.
you?
For me, it really is that accountability. So I have a very tight knit circle. I have a top three of people that I talk to. And even like the idea that I've shared with you, I've only shared with only a couple of people know about that. And so for me, my best friend is amazing because she knows me. And so I tap into people that know me. And particularly she'll check in and she knows when things is good and I didn't know this, but she brought it out to me because I'm talking about it. But when I'm not talking about it, she'll be like, Bess, I ain't heard you say nothing about what's going on with this.
Yeah.
And that's when it'll force me. And I'm like, and again, I didn't recognize this until she pointed it out. So I was like, I don't know if you should have pointed it out to me because I might just start saying stuff anyway. It really is for me being intentional about who I let into my circle, because I am very particular about the words that is spoken over me and to me within my core group.
Yeah.
And so for me, when it's fear, I have those persons, and again, I lean and yield to the Holy Spirit to tell me who am I supposed to go to, because one of the things is when I tell you I have those top three are for different things. And so not all of them are the ones that I go to. One is my spiritual confidant, one is my worldly confidant, one is my workly confidant. And so really depending on what that is, that's what I'm tapping into. And then another thing, I've really gotten into form of self-care, which is something that we did in Black Women Leading, but the releasing and the breath work, that is something that I do regularly. That and coupled, and I know that's one of the questions, but that coupled with, for me, sound baths is what I use to really center myself when I'm like, oh, something's not right. And then there's this other thing that I started doing, which is TRE, trauma exercises, but it teaches you, similar to what we did, Laura, with the releasing,
community workshop.
It really helps with shaking and just like really getting off those things. So it's like when you're in fear and doubt, especially those big things that are like, I don't even know who to talk to or what to talk about. Those are some of the things that I lean into to help me combat that.
I love it. And so what Cher's talking about is some somatic work, like when we're experiencing fear, especially if it's connected to like past trauma or things we've experienced, that it lives in the body. And so sometimes we need to do some release of the body, of the energy in the body, to be able to mentally go for something. So we've had some community workshops on that in Black Women Leading. And actually, if you listen to the podcast, I think it was episode 5 with Lauren DK. We talked about that. We talked about kind of, really being in alignment with our bodies and what are some of those practices you could do to kind of release that and help your body to be in alignment with you as you're pursuing things. I love it. Alexys, I don't know if you want to touch on that. You don't have to, but I want to skip over you. I don't want to skip over you. You wanted to touch on it.
Yes, I just sum it up with a quote, because I think for me, it's just trying to reframe fear and see what it's trying to tell me, but looking at fear as potential waiting to be known. So really leaning into my fear, how can I use this to level up? Because I think sometimes fear can just come from limiting yourself, boxing yourself in, but how can this fear help me to expand? So that's what I've been trying to do.
Girl,
Yes.
You might get the collection plate on that. That thing is good. Wait, say it again, wow. Alexys. Fear
is potential waiting to be known.
Ooh, wait.
You better copyright that one.
Look,
okay.
I heard that somewhere. It stuck with me.
I'm
not taking credit, but I'm spreading it.
Okay, wow. I got a little goosebump on that. That was good. Okay.
Say that one more time. Okay. Write it down. Here's the potential.
One more time.
Fear is potential waiting to be known.
Fear is potential waiting to be known. Mm-hmm. That's good. I'm literally like now thinking about, recent times when I have experienced fear and matching it to that. And it is when I feel like I experience fear, it is when I'm about to, especially around like professional or entrepreneurial or things we're doing with the company, it's usually about a new level that's about to be unlocked. And because you don't have context for that, it's like, but what is it? But can I do it? But that kind of thing. So that's powerful. Okay, girlfriend, come on with a collection plate. sound bite in here. Okay. All right, I got a few more questions for y'all. I could talk to y'all all day. Don't y'all see what the Black woman leader community is like?
Yes.
Okay, so part of driving the narrative is we've talked about setting vision. You all have talked about quite organically tapping into your community and your network. But there's also this piece around self-advocacy, right? And asking for what you need. And that self-advocacy might be tangible things. It might be promotion, more money. It may be boundaries. It might be space you need. It could be anything. So as you think about, as you're pushing forward now, as you're navigating, can you think of, recent examples where you've had to advocate for yourself, where you've had to ask for something to move forward? And I think it's important for people to hear that, because sometimes there's this, well, if it's gonna be mine, somebody will notice and give it to me. And it's like, nah, sometimes you gotta really ask for that thing. So I'd love to hear from you all. And again, I'll let people kind of just naturally, because everyone may not have something for this, but self-advocacy. You got some recent experiences where you had to ask for some things or request some things or demand some things to move forward?
I'll take this one to start. So, as I mentioned, uh, I inherited two programs. And starting off, my program workshops was great. But taking on this instructor training was a whole nother beast. And interestingly enough, when I started off with the company, I was working partially in that department. So I knew a little bit of the groundwork. But really, in order for me to take on this role, or I felt like in order for me to, have my full capacity, I actually had to have the conversation with them and the executive team to ask them, hey, what to identify what my parameters were, in a sense of I needed to know, and they actually shared with me, like, share, this is your program. But there really were boundaries that needed to be outlined initially.
Yeah.
And it was more so for me, it was self-advocacy. Unbeknownst to me, I was afraid to make certain decisions because I was like, oh, I felt like I needed to have,
The
buy-in,
approval.
if you will. Yep, approval
Mhm.
and buy-in. And so I really needed to have that clarity and almost like in writing, like, okay, I need to know that the things that I'm getting ready to do, which were going to be some drastic changes, but I felt like that needed to happen in order for these programs to merge. And I needed to know that I was going to have, I was going to have the buy-in of the executive team and that they were going to support me 100%. And when I tell you, that conversation, and while it was a hard conversation at first, because again, me, it's always, I've always been the, just want to make sure we doing everything by the book so that it doesn't come back at me, right? But knowing that I had this opportunity, which in hindsight, that had always been a dream of mine, to these two programs really should have been feeding into each other. And they never did because me and the other person just couldn't get it together. And now I have the opportunity to make this program what it is. And once I had that conversation, it really changed the trajectory of the program.
Wow.
And allowing me, like, literally to the point they'll say, Cher, this is Cher's program. What is Cher going to do? And literally, the executive director will send stuff and say, hey, we had a request for this, but I'm not making that decision, truly allowing me to be the decision maker and to back me up in all the things that I do. It helps me to be that visionary, right? But that was the self-advocacy for me, was I needed to know what my bounds were like. I needed to know how far could I go? And they were like, Cher.
Yeah, I love it. It's giving boss energy, okay? It's giving big boss energy. But I love that, because sometimes the advocacy is not stuff, right? It's what's the frame here? It's alignment. You are asking for alignment and really being on the same page so that you could fly free within that framework. And so love to hear that. Great great example. Anyone else have a self-advocacy story, or how something you had to ask for, request for yourself to move forward?
I can hop in here. I can first say that I totally relate to having to advocate for boundaries and parameters. definitely been there. But the example that I'm thinking of is slightly more tangible. I discovered in 2020 that I am the type of person that really can thrive in remote working situations. And so I was finding myself semi recently feeling really burnt out because I was in the office, on site 5 days a week. And, I can do it, of course, but I was finding myself like, man, I feel really tired and I
Yeah.
feel like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really showing up as my best self. There's a lot of distractions that happen in a workplace. And I know that when it's time for me to, lock in, so to speak, I really can't have people knocking on the door like, "Hey, you got a minute?"
Yeah.
You're
My
like, I
headphones are.
don't.
I don't.
Yes.
Not trying to be rude. My headphones are in. That means that I'm focused, and so I had to advocate for a work from home day, which I was really nervous about asking for because the environment wasn't necessarily conducive to that. It was very much like we all come in and we work together and we're collaborative and it's an open door policy for everyone at all points of the day. And that just wasn't a working environment that I felt I was really thriving in. And so I went to my supervisor and I was like, hey, this is something I think I really need. And I'm willing to work with however that can look. It'd be cool if it was more than one day, but if it's one day, I will take that. I feel like I can really, execute a lot better if I have that space to lock in somewhere that's not here. And which, can, for me, again, was a nerve-wracking conversation to bring up. But
Mm-hmm.
I did, and I was able to receive my work from home day, and I'm so happy that I did that because it also opened up some more space for me to be able to advocate for other things with my supervisor within my team, and feel more empowered to use my voice and stand in my
Mm-hmm.
power, especially when it comes to very specific initiatives that I might be working on or that I'm leading now. Having folks that I, supervise, so to speak. And so that was one of those first conversations that allowed me to feel a little bit more empowered. So, it's nice to have
Yes.
those remote days, I will say. So yeah, that was definitely a self-advocacy practice for me.
I love it. I love it. I love
Yes.
it.
And I think
Alexis, you got some?
connected to Shelby. I'm not sure if this is really answering the question because I do think self advocacy is definitely an area of growth for me that I've been intentionally working on.
Yeah.
But it's strange to say, but I feel like I've had to start with self advocating to myself, if that makes sense. Like, advocating for my time, like taking my lunch breaks,
Yeah.
having an open door policy, but also when I don't have a moment, being like, no, I have to find time to meet with you at another time because I'm busy or I'm working on something.
Yeah.
Taking time to recharge during the day. I feel like those were not things I always put on the forefront. But I found that was draining my cup, draining my energy. So the conversation really started with being like, Alexys, you have to set these boundaries with yourself and you have to stick to them.
Yeah.
Because if you don't stick to them, nobody's going to stick to them for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really been where I started. It's branched out to me being able to set boundaries with my team. If I don't have a minute, I'm finding others time to speak with them, making sure I take my lunch breaks, making sure I step away from the computer during the day.
Yes.
So starting small, but building up, definitely.
Yeah, that's definitely answering the question because that
Yes.
self-advocacy is about what do you need, right? And it might be tangible, like you said. It may be boundaries. It may be giving yourself space, right? So I love to hear that progress because that is really what it's about. And for this kind of growth forward in your career and your leadership to be sustainable, those things have got to be there. Those things have got to be there. Well, you kind of taken us into the self-care conversation, Alexis. I love to ask everybody, to achieve our goals professionally, personally, we have to be well. And so I
Hmm.
love to ask everyone, like, what is one way that you are taking care of yourself these days? What does self-care look like for you these days if you had to share one way? Let's go with Shelby, share, and then Alexis.
Yeah, so something that really fulfills me is food. I love a good meal. Um, Living in New Orleans really helps with that.
Yes.
Yes.
And so something that I make sure that I take time for is whether it's with my friends or my partner or even myself. I will make sure that I go and treat myself to a fancy little bite
Hmm.
of some kind
Yeah.
because I love culinary history. I love the
Mm.
ways in which food brings people together, and you're able to engage in cross cultural connections. I love the linchpin of food in that way, and I love learning about it. I'm a big foodie person, if you can't tell just from this answer. And so that's one way that I really kind of refuel myself,
I
no
love
pun
it.
intended, is, finding opportunities to try a new dish, to cook something at home, following some kind of recipe that is interesting and exciting. Take care of myself and refuel and fill my cup back up is, hey, how can I bring food into this? And people that I work with, everyone knows that, Shelby loves food. Shelby's a foodie. And, that's, I have a little food blog. I haven't really updated in a long time,
Oh,
but
wow. That's fun.
I'm very much a phone eats first type of person. And so that those are ways that I kind of tap back into feeling more like
I love it.
myself, is connecting culinarily.
I love it. That's fun, too. That's
It
fun. I love it.
is. It's different.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Alexis, how are you taking care of yourself these days?
Yes. So for me, it's definitely helpful, and I've incorporated it into my routine. Just take time to disconnect. I'm definitely a person who needs my alone time to recharge. So this year, the way I've been doing that is getting outside every day. To just going for a
Mm.
walk around the corner. If it's going to the track, it's just getting outside, being in nature, not being on my phone.
Mm.
I've stuck to it all season. So even in the winter when it was really cold and it got dark at 5, I got my scarf on and I
You
was outside.
better.
I
Good
was
for
outside
you.
moving. Yeah, and I realized that I actually like walking in the winter, seeing all the Christmas lights and things like that. Walking in the spring now with like the plants coming back. So just being able to take a second to connect with nature, away from the screens, because I'm on the screens at work, I'm on the screens at home. So
Yeah.
really just getting that alone time to recharge, kind of bringing myself back to, regulated, has been what I've incorporated into my routine.
I love that. And it's the consistency for me. Okay, come
Right?
on.
That's
Yeah,
With,
amazing.
yeah,
with
it was
a
hard.
with a winter stroll. Okay. I love it. I love it. Share how are you taking care of yourself? We know you working out, sister.
I know. See,
What?
and that's the thing. So I'm not gonna do working out. I'm not gonna
Okay.
do working out because that's a given. But
Yeah.
one of the things that I started incorporating is and I did this actually in BWL, but it's these things called um postcard cabins,
Oh,
and I actually
yes.
go away. And I've actually kind of been doing it once a month now.
Go, girl.
And
Awesome.
I love it. Y'all, so for me, I work from home. Um, and I work from home with two coworkers, my fur baby and my mother. And so it can be a lot sometimes. And also for me, I've become the matriarch of my family with when my grandmother passed away. So I love it, but it's draining. And
Yeah.
so I've come to realize, y'all, that I actually like myself and being by myself. And
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
noticing now I'll go away, like if I've gone away to a conference or something and I've been by myself, when I come back home, it's just this energy that just comes over me. And almost sometimes I got an attitude and I have to check myself because I'm like, it is. So for me, I realized like I'm working on some things to long term, but for now, going away, the cabins are I highly promote it. But now, like whenever they send me a text message, 40% off, I'm like, okay, I'm on my way. But it's a weekend and it's set up so that you really are distracted. You the
Distraction
reception,
free.
yes, distraction free. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like very minimal reception. So that's really time that I
Wow.
go and I will take my books. Like I learned that I love to read. Like I've been reading. So like doing all the things that I truly love to do, just being by myself, reading and sleeping, it's been great.
I love it. I
Oh, I'm
love
gonna have to
it.
look into that.
Look,
Yes.
everybody's
You should
like,
do
drop
it.
the link,
Yeah.
drop the
Yes.
link.
I have also done that, and I
Oh,
co-sign it certainly. So definitely
Yeah,
look into it. You're out
yeah.
there, kind of in the middle of nowhere, but
Yes.
it's definitely refreshing to kind of. They have little boxes you can lock your phone away,
Yep.
and
Yep.
yep,
Wow.
it's great. It's great.
oh, wow. Okay. I love it. I love it. Okay. My last question for you all. We've been talking about your experience driving the narrative. I want to bring it, and you all have been referencing it throughout, but I think, I kind of feel like I know I'm not y'all mama. I ain't trying to be your mama, but just a proud. I just feel so proud just looking at y'all going after it, doing the thing. And so I'd love to ask you, how when you think about your experience in the Black Woman Leading Program and how you have grown in your leadership and are continuing to grow, is there a particular insight or aha moment that you had during your time in the program about yourself, about your career journey, about your future? Just an insight, an aha moment, light bulb moment that you had through your Black Woman Leading journey. Would love to hear that.
I'll start. And I'm sorry, I'm forgetting all the names of the things that we did. But
Yeah.
our special class where we talk and we come up with our
Yes.
problems. What
The
was the
mastermind session in
mastermind
the mid career.
in the mid
Yeah.
career? For me, I think that first one was the one that got me. And I'll say in mastermind, did they do that in the early career?
No, it's a different framework in the
Okay.
early career.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we basically come with a problem and then we have time. Everyone in the group can provide insight and ask questions to help you with solving that problem. My aha moment, seriously, the first class, when we had the Black woman leading, like you hear all these amazing women and we had some baddies in the group, right? And so when I look at them, I don't see problems. Like it seems like they got it going on. And when we went into that mastermind, it really was helpful for me to see, sure, like to embrace. I don't have to be perfect all the time. Like, and that is something that, and I think it's just culturally, we are just striving to always have perfection. But it was in those moments that we were vulnerable with each other. And
Yeah.
it really encouraged me to be more vulnerable because that is something, again, I only share with a very small few. So for me, going through Black Women Leading truly allowed me to become more vulnerable and to allow others to pour into me because, again, I said I'm really, really particular.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, y'all get to the nitty gritty in those mastermind sessions. I have to say.
Hmm.
Shelby, Alexys, you have a highlight or insight, light bulb moment from your time in the program?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm kind of a person that, is looking for signs and looking for synchronicities and things like that. So even really reflecting back on the program in our cohort name of Bloom, just realizing that the growth does not happen all at once. And you don't even realize how much you're growing until you kind of take a second to look back.
Yeah.
So just thinking from when I came into the program, from, completing the program and how much growth I had, how much clarity I had with my career trajectory and direction, doing the individual development plan to really map out my next steps. All of that was really building the foundation, like the right foundation for me to continue on an upward trajectory. And I think, topics and things that we did in this program are relevant throughout my whole career cycle. Like they'll be relevant 5 years from now, they'll be relevant 10 years from now. It's kind of like lifelong learning. So it's really cool to, as other people mentioned, just have that intentional space to dream big and plan my career, because I wouldn't have done that on my own. But it was really valuable, like very valuable.
Yay. Love it. Shelby, you have anything to share?
Yeah, I think my aha moment really came with getting my disc results. That was so helpful for me personally to be able to, put language to the ways in which I felt I was moving through my work environment, my workspace, my work self, as well as kind of where I'm naturally situated, and seeing those differences at those bar graphs. I was like, oh, okay, all right, this makes sense. And for me, that was so transformative, because being able to look, I'm very much a visual learner, so seeing it in that way was very helpful for me to make necessary adjustments to retreat from that burnout that I was kind of living in. And I really have been kind of operating with that in mind since then. And I think that a lot of the decisions that I've made for myself in relationship to my career goals and trajectory, thinking about how I can best position myself in the workplace to be my best work self, to advocate for myself. All of those things really kind of stemmed from the moment of seeing which letter was where. Personally, that was very helpful for me. And so I think about it a lot, and I have certainly suggested it to folks who are in various types of team dynamics or all sorts of things, like, hey, have you heard of this? You might want to look into it. So that was really my aha moment, was being able to visualize how I show up and where it is serving me and where it isn't, and then adjusting accordingly.
I love that. And Shelby's referring to, in the Black Woman Leader programs, we use the DISC leader assessment. And so it tells you some behavioral preferences, some communication preferences, but also, as Shelby is talking about, when you're dealing with people who are different than you, how do you adapt in a way that
I was going to say that was very helpful for me too. Different personalities. It's like, how do I approach you?
How do you adapt and still, have good collaboration, influence, without betraying what you need at the same time. So powerful. Oh my goodness. So as we bring this episode to a close, I said that was the last question, but we're going to do this like 15-second lightning round. Okay.
Okay.
Let's say somebody has been listening to this and they are in this season of having a vision and kind of driving the narrative, right, of their career. What's kind of just one piece of advice or one thing you would tell them to encourage them in this moment to keep going? And we'll just do a round and end on that. Let's do share Alexys and then Shelby, and we'll end on that note.
I would say embrace the uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable.
For me, I would definitely say allow yourself to dream big and set the foundation.
Okay. Shelby?
I would say give yourself grace when things do not go according to plan. Give yourself grace.
I love it. Wisdom, wisdom, wisdom. Where can people connect with you? Like, what's the best way for people to connect with you outside of the podcast, Shelby, if they wanted to connect?
You can find me on LinkedIn at, I guess, linkedin.com/Shelby D. Norman. You can find me there and shoot me a message, connect with me there.
Yep, and we'll put everyone's links in the show notes as well. Alexis, best way for people to connect with you outside of the
Yes, I would say same
podcast?
as Shelby. You can definitely check me out on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to connect.
Okay, and share.
LinkedIn, SherAaron Hurt, or if you're more of the social side, you can do Instagram, Share Fit Life.
Okay, perfect. And then does anyone have anything special or things going on coming up that you want to share with listeners? If so, you can feel free to share.
I'll say this. If you're ever in the Detroit area and you're looking for a cardio kickboxing class, Tuesday,
Ooh.
6:15 p.m. or Saturdays, 10:15 a.m., hit me up. You will be in for a treat.
Okay, I
Nice.
love it. I love it. I'm gonna have to make my way to Detroit to get my tail whooped. Okay. Anybody else have any special announcements or things going on that you want to share?
No, just excited to attend the conference later
Woo-hoo!
next month.
Yes.
It's coming. It's
Absolutely.
coming.
Yes.
Okay.
I second that.
Awesome. All right, everyone. We hope that you have taken some insight, some wisdom nuggets, some encouragement from this discussion today. If so, we ask that you share this episode with a friend or colleague. We are available on all streaming platforms, including YouTube and our website, blackwomanleading.com. So be sure to subscribe and to follow and to rate and all of those awesome things to help us amplify this work that we're doing. You can connect with us at Black Woman Leading. Woman is singular on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. If you want to connect with me personally, I'm at Laura E. Knights on both LinkedIn and Instagram. And then finally, if you want to learn about our work that we do inside of corporations to help activate conscious, competent, confident leaders, you can check out our corporate site at knightsconsultinggroup.com. We would love to connect with you in any of these ways. And until next time, be well.